I'm Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector Podcast. And I have joining me returning guest Chad Williams, the chairman of the board of Honey Badger Silver. Welcome, Chad.
Hey, Michael. So great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, not a problem. Since we last chatted, there's been lots happening with Honey Badger, and it'll be good to give an update to everybody. But before we do that, as we always do, there will be people that have no idea what Honey Badger Silver is. So let's give them the 20,000 foot view of the company, what you're doing, and where you're doing it.
The quick synopsis is that we're a roughly 25 million Canadian market cap company. We just raised about $3 million. We've gone through a little bit of that, of course, because we've been very busy on two properties, and I will tell you about those properties in a second. But Honey Badger is a silver company, and we were formed. I joined the company about 5 years ago with a thesis that silver was going to rise dramatically. And turned out that I have been right so far. I think silver will continue to rise even higher, much higher. But the point being is that Honey Badger today, let's forget about the past, but where we are today is we have 7 silver projects. All of them are located in Canada. 3 of them have resources, in other words, a mineral inventory already. By the way, that sum of mineral resources is 150 million ounces of silver equivalent. For the purists, it's 50 million ounces of silver, and then another 100 million ounces of lead and zinc and other metals converted to silver equivalent, okay? So those are the 3 projects that have resources, and we have 2 very exciting growth projects. One is called Nanisivik, and the other one is called Plata. And we've been active on both of those. And with your permission, at some point, we can talk about those.
Yeah, most definitely you've been active on those. Those are both up north, one in the Yukon, if I remember correctly, and the other one on Baffin Island. So let's talk about the Yukon property first.
I have a long history in the Yukon. I was involved many, many years ago. That's when I first got introduced to the Yukon, and I really, fell in love with the jurisdiction. The geology is phenomenal. There are many unique aspects of the Yukon, but the point being is that one of the best discoveries in recent Canadian history is a project called Snowline. It's got a 1.5 billion Canadian market cap. So just about 100 times, a little less than 100 times our market cap. To be fair, Snowline has discovered 8 million ounces on their property. And congratulations, kudos. They deserve all the credit for that. It's been amazing. Our Plata property, which we own 100% of, is adjacent to Snowline. And we share lots of the same geologic characteristics as Snowline. And what we're discovering is that we have been looking in the wrong area in the past. Put it simplistically, not just us, but other people over the last 50, 60 years have been focused on an area that has very high grades of silver. And the grades are so high, in fact, that they were mining these little ore bodies by hand and flying the silver ore to Idaho to get treated. And they still made money. Okay, I mean, it's just mind-boggling, the logistics and the costs of doing that. But it's just because the silver grades are so high. And so because these silver veins were attractive, a lot of people focused on those, including us. But because of the knowledge that we've gained with the Snowline discovery, I will confidently say that we were looking in the wrong area for the wrong thing. And what this means is that crossing over a ridge into another valley, and by the way, that valley is between these high grades of silver and Snowline. I'm not trying to overcomplicate things, but this valley, which we recently staked turns out to be very promising in terms of mineral potential. There's one zone that it looks like a mine, like the concentration of minerals is so high, it looks like an old mine. And there's another area that the completely distinct area, by the way, that old mine looking area, it was never been mined. In fact, very few people have ever walked on there. We call this zone, we've labeled it a new name called Inferno. And across the valley, the El Diablo zone it contains an area that, when you look at it, it looks like ice, like a little river that's being iced over. But of course, this is in the middle of summer, so when you go up close to it, it's because it's zinc oxide, white zinc oxide mineralization that is forming the bed of this little, I call it a river, but let's call it a stream, really. And so it gives you an idea of the variety of mineralization and the richness of it, at least from what we can tell visually. Okay, and so we've done a lot of work there recently with ground. We call it ground truthing. Really, what that means is people walking around and taking rock samples. We had one phase of work. And then we went back and did another phase of work because of all the attractive looking geology that we're finding. And we actually have people on site as we speak. And so the conclusion is the rocks at Plata look amazing. Many similarities to Snowline and many different types of mineralization. And so we've got lots of really interesting targets that we're anxious to eventually drill.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about the Yukon is that everyone remembers the Yukon gold rush, but there's just as many silver finds in the Yukon as there has been gold finds. But what always puzzles me about this particular Plata is that nobody's really explored it before, and I've always been curious as to why that is, given the high grade that's up the hill and over on the other side of the valley that Snowfield has gotten.
Well, I mean, it's amazing if you look at it in retrospect, because it's a remote part of the world. There's no doubt about it. So, once and mining is a cyclical business. So when the cycles are up, junior companies like us are able to finance, and then we go in there and we have a limited amount of time, a little bit of money. And so we're going to focus on the most obvious low hanging fruit. And that's what we did. That's what probably 10 other companies before us did. And, the reality is, if we didn't have the benefit of the Snowline discovery and because Snowline's gold mineralization doesn't look like anything. It's very benign. You'd walk over it 100 times and you wouldn't even want to sample it. And again, that's the real genius or the beauty of what Snowline did. But we can now learn from that and look at their mineralization systems and types. And then, we can now look in different parts of the property and go, well, guess what? Maybe we were looking in the wrong place all this time. Like, the real potential is on the other side of the hill. It's just human nature being what it is.
Yeah, it's always remarkable to me when new eyes takes a look at the same thing and finds something completely brand new that everyone else has just been oblivious to. So,
yes.
On this project, you've been doing a lot of field work. Has it determined an area where you could put drills down and start drilling yet, or is it going to require more field work?
Well, I mean, the answer is yes and yes. The drilling strategy will depend on these assays. Admittedly, it's early stage, and I guess that's if there's, people always say, well, what's the downside or what's the negatives? Well, the negatives are that we're entering a new area. Okay. The good news is this brand new area looks super promising given this new level of knowledge, but it's a new area. So we do have some reconnaissance to do, and the drilling strategy will depend on the assay results. from this phase. There's no doubt that we want to drill and find something substantial quickly, but we're also going to do things properly. You know, my saying is we could do things quickly or we could do things properly, and we'll do things properly. Because if we do things quickly and we drill and we don't find anything, you know, we will have wasted money, because there's no doubt in my mind that there are many deposits on our Plata property to be found. There's no doubt. I'm confident of that. What I can't tell you is where they are, how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost. I mean, that's exploration. But of course, if we tap into something, the value creation is enormous, right?
Yeah, that gives the company a giant upside, and that's
Yes.
why
Yeah.
projects like this can be lucrative if they hit. Now, your neighbors at Snowline, are they open to sharing data so that you can compare what you have to what they have and find the similarities?
We have been on their property, and we are in discussions with them fairly consistently. As neighbors, you can imagine that there are some synergies. We have an airstrip that at times they find useful. There's a road, it's called the Canal Road. I mean, the word road is a bit of an exaggeration. It's a trail, really. It was built during World War II. And you know, we're going to work together with other operators in the area to you know, make that road usable again. And that road goes through our property. And so the point being is, you know, we're good neighbors, and they've got their hands full. They've got a huge property. They've got, you know, I don't know how many drills they've got on their property, but you know, they're busy, and they're focused on what they're doing. But you know, we can benefit from the knowledge, right? And that's
Yeah, no,
important.
absolutely. And sometimes old eyes can see something that the new eyes have missed, and vice versa. So
Yes, yes, yes.
when companies get to share the data when they're in that close of proximity, um, the newer company can learn from the experience of the older company in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, and it gets you to your path, you know, more efficiently, in that you kind of can just dismiss some things quickly, having seen it fail in other places. So that's your Yukon property. That's property number one.
yeah.
It's your dealer's choice. Which of the other two active properties did you want to talk about next?
Well, you know, Nanisivik is a real sleeper, and I like Nanisivik a lot. Nanisivik is or was a mine for many years. It was a very good mine, but it shut down in 2017 because of low zinc prices. So it was a zinc, lead, and silver mine to produce a substantial amount of silver. When it stopped, it still had 4 years of reserves, so there's still a mineral inventory there. And furthermore, if you think about it, a company that's living hand to mouth, that's really struggling to survive financially, they're not going to explore, especially, you know, they had reserves and they shut the mine down. So the exploration potential is enormous. All along, there's a belt there, and we were on site recently doing some geophysics and doing some ground sampling. And uh, you know, I mean, let's see what the results look like. But we're very encouraged that we're going to be able to find many other nanocivic ore bodies in that area. I will add something very interesting, that the former mine left a pyrite ore body. I'll use the word ore body. Let's call it a pyrite mineral deposit of roughly 100 million tons, which is huge, that they never mined. And the reason is, in those days, you know, sulfuric acid wasn't very expensive. There wasn't a lot of demand. Pyrites used to make sulfuric acid, which is now in very high demand. And the drilling, some of the drill holes through this pyrite zone hit 1 to 2 ounces of silver per ton. So you can quickly do the math that 100 million ton pyrite deposit with 1 or 2 ounces of silver could become a very important silver deposit. So we're doing metallurgical studies right now to see if it's economic for us to mine the pyrite. And if the numbers look good, then we're going to go and drill this pyrite to really determine what the silver grade is. We don't know. Few holes were drilled in it looking for silver, but it's tantalizing. I will also add that in those days, certainly in the early days, Nanisivik was discovered in the early 60s, no one had cell phones. And the critical metals or critical minerals that are so important to us today weren't important then. Metals like germanium, cadmium, there's a whole suite of weird metals that are contained in the Nanisivik ore, which they never got paid for really, or never cared about, or never even assayed. So we are looking at Nanisivik, to your point a little bit earlier, with a fresh lens or fresh set of eyes,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of silver projects that people have gone back to and they've found germanium, and it
Yeah,
was just a question. There was no value to the germanium before,
no,
so they never bothered to look for it.
that's right. That's right.
Uh,
So who
so
knows what all of this is worth? But it's, by the way, I said that, and I'm interrupting you, and I apologize, but I said that we've got 150 million ounces of silver equivalent. If you compare our market cap per ounce, it's much, much less. It's in some instances it's 1/10 or 1/20th or 1/5 of the valuation of our peers. And so my point, really the major point I'd like to make for your listeners is that we're undervalued based on what we know today. Full stop. All of this exploration upside at Plata and Nanisivik you get for free, you know? So, I own 25% of Honey Badger. I was thinking today, just a few moments ago, that I own 25% of 7 silver projects, all located in Canada, very low costs, almost insignificant costs to hold them. They all have exploration upside. We can double, triple, quadruple the size of these resources, I think, fairly easily. All of that, the book value of these projects is well over $100 million spent by other people. I feel good, I feel good. I mean, we started this strategy when silver was below $20 an ounce. It's now 42, 43. I think it's going higher. I'm very happy as a shareholder of Honey Badger. And of course, we welcome your listeners to become shareholders of Honey Badger.
yeah, most definitely. The question that I wanted to ask is where Nanisivik was located, so that the listeners could have a clear picture geographically for.
Yeah, it's on Baffin Island.
Wonderful. Lots of good mining has happened in Baffin Island in the past, and it's a good
Mhm.
jurisdiction to be working in. So that's two. You said there was three projects you wanted to talk about. What was the third?
Well, at the end of the day, the what we're going to start talking a little bit more about, and the problem is that the analogy that I use, I ask people, how many members of the Rolling Stones do you remember? And everybody says Mick Jagger. Some people will mention Keith Richards, and very few people mention Ronnie Wood, and so forth. So if I start talking about other projects, I tend to lose people, and I get that. Uh, but we will start talking about our Clear Lake project in the Yukon pretty soon. It's our biggest resource. It's got some exploration upside, and we will also do some work on that coming up. Okay, but really, the obvious one is Plata, given its proximity to a very hot story called Snowline. Nanisivik being a former mine, it's a real sleeper. And then we're going to start talking and doing some work on Clear Lake. We have 4 other projects after that, but we'll get to those later.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I always thought it would be cool because you've told me that about the Rolling Stones in private. And I've always in the back of my mind go, I look forward to the day a mining company names their projects after all the Stones. That would be an interesting exercise.
I love the band. I'm just worried a little bit about copyright or something like that, you know?
Ah, it's not a song, so and their names,
Yeah.
so you'd probably be okay with that. But
And
it's always
maybe
one of those things.
we name it like Mick and Ronnie and Keith, and people leave it up to their imagination as to where. And it's actually a very good idea because we're always looking for names, right? And band and band members' names are it's a really good idea. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, it would always be fun, and we go from rock to rock that way. So
Yeah, yeah, they're rock stars. Yes, yes, I love it.
wonderful. So looking forward, what's the company's plans for the next 6 to 8 months?
Well, we're busy, very busy. The goal, my goal, our goal as a board and management is to have three different types of silver assets. One of them is silver cash flow, silver producing assets. Now we're not going to buy a mine, but the best way to do that is with a royalty or a stream. I actually invented streaming over 20 years ago. It was, of course, commercialized by what is now Wheaton Precious, and they deserve all the credit for commercializing it. But it was originally my idea. I've come up with another royalty idea. It's a mix between a loan and a royalty. And so we are working on that so that we can get cash flow. I don't want to overstate or over promote this because it will take time to develop, and until we do one, I'll just say stay tuned. Number two is ounces in the ground. We already have a substantial inventory, but we're always looking for accretive project acquisitions. And number three is adding value through exploration, which we just touched on just a few moments ago. Now we are going to be active on the marketing side. It's the busy marketing season, and I was just in Montreal yesterday, for example, meeting with investors, and we're going to Munich, and there's all kinds of things. So we'll be doing that. One thing you can count on with Honey Badger, we're very busy. We are shareholders. We own stock in the company, and we also believe in silver to a very high degree, much more bullish view than many people. So if you share our passion, our views, if you love silver, again, we welcome you to be investors of Honey Badger.
Wonderful. And if they want to follow the story, what's the best way to do it?
Well, anyone's welcome to reach out to me or Sonia or anybody else on the board. Honeybadgersilver.com is our website. And we post fairly actively on X and LinkedIn, and so we're out there. We're easy to find.
Wonderful. I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to another update down the road. And this is an exciting company, folks. You should pay attention.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Chad.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Honey Badger Silver is a paid sponsor of the Prospector News. The host owns shares and warrants in Honey Badger Silver bought at the market for investment purposes. The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.